The one thing above all else, above everything else that this hobby is about and that model railroaders love is running trains. And with all the tutorials I've been doing recently and building on MRR2 and all these different things, I haven't run trains in a while. And with me talking about collecting this past coffee and trains, I wanted to show you guys some of the favorites in my collection and give them a run on my layout. And my favorite is probably not one you're going to expect. Let's have some fun and run some trains. The first one I'm going to run is one of my favorites to run, and it just looks the coolest when it's going around at speed, and that is my intermodal train. Now, I have two sets of 5 well cars from Kato. I'll link those in the description below, and they can be a little bit finicky to figure out how exactly to get them to run properly, but once you figure that out, they are absolutely fantastic and smooth runners. Now, I use 2 locomotives to pull this because of the grades on my layout. The first and the head locomotive is a Kato SD70M number 2588, Norfolk Southern of course, and then I also have an Atlas SD60. These 2 locomotives I've had speed matched for quite a long time, so they work really well together. I do run them as both forward facing, and that's just because for some reason the front coupler on the Atlas and the coupler on the Kato well cars just they don't really like each other, and I've tried a bunch of things and I just can't get them to work out quite right, and I probably need to dive into it. But let's take a look at this running around my layout. I really love doing this. My number 2 locomotive is arguably the nicest locomotive that I own, and that is my Scale Trains Rivet Counter 940C number 8888. It is Norfolk Southern. It is not CSX, so it is not the one from the Crazy 8s incident. But this locomotive is just absolutely beautiful and stunning. You can tell how much love went into making these locomotives look like this, and not to mention it sounds fantastic. It's one of my few sound locomotives. So let's just go ahead and listen to the startup and listen to it run around my layout hauling a few coal cars. So that's my number 2. What is my number 1? Well, it's definitely going to surprise you. As a matter of fact, it's been sitting back here literally the entire time right behind me, right there. It is my Kato Norfolk Southern number 1642 SD40-2. Now, you're probably wondering, why is that your favorite? Well, it's a Kato. It's a very solid runner, very easy to use and operate, doesn't break. And the big thing about it, though, is it's got an emotional bond to me. This is a locomotive that I looked for a while. I wanted an SD40-2 on my layout, and I'd had issues with Broadway Limited diesels and N-scale for a while, so I did not want to spend that much money just to be disappointed with a locomotive that I've been really looking for. And I knew that Kato not only made the SD40-2, but had made Norfolk Southern ones in the past, and I just had to be patient. Well, this took a couple of years for one to pop up that the timing was just right, and when it did, it was on eBay, and I went into a full-on bidding war for this one, getting it at absolutely the last second. I was sitting on my bed with my phone just as fast as possible, so this locomotive really does mean a lot to me simply because of what it took to get it. So let's just run this one around my layout. It's one of my favorites. I use it as my local switcher on my layout. It's a Norfolk Southern SD40-2 from Kato. You enjoyed this. It's a little bit different than what I typically do, but I wanted to run some trains and I love sharing my layout with you guys. So now my favorites are probably going to change and evolve, especially since I'm going to be going through this whole collection of passenger train sets where I'm going to be getting things like the 20th Century Limited and the Zephyr and things like that. So this may change. This may be completely different next year. Who knows? But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.